Hello! This is a review slash discussion on the movie
50
Shades of Grey. Because neither of us have read the book. I've only read little bits and parts and it's boring. This is more so about the movie. So big thing is how this movie is supposedly abusive and the relationship is abusive all around. And how this is supporting abuse, apparently. And so the book obviously does. Like, there's certain things that are just so wrong and messed up.
He's creepy.
Yeah.
He's downright creepy.
Yeah. But in the movie, that's all he is. It's just the creepy and the little fucking sadistic parts of it. But for the most part, in the movie, he doesn't do anything mentally or physically abusive, technically.
The only thing that he does that can be considered abusive, in my opinion, would be during their negotiation of the contract. How he's trying to, manipulate her and say, talk about how he wants to fuck her so badly and stuff to get her to sign the contract. And for one thing, she stands up for herself, and she was having none of that.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I mean, you learn about the art of persuasion in AP Lang. You learn about appealing to emotion, pathos and
all that crap.
And stuff. So that's nothing out of the ordinary than what any other person does to get what they want.
Mm-hmm. He was just trying to get what he wanted, and what he wanted apparently was anal fisting.
That is, I believe that would be considered, I guess, emotionally abusive, but almost understandable. And
everyone
she
does
didn't buy into it. So I think that almost that's a good example.
Yeah, even though he wanted it, and you could clearly tell that he was annoyed that she's like, no, take that out of the contract. He did take it out of the contract. So, wherever this abuse thing comes from, at least with the movie-wise, it's like, it's not really there considering she knows everything that's possibly going to happen, even though she's agreeing to it, basically. She doesn't sign the contract, but she's agreeing to it. And he lets her know the safety words and all that, and it's...
Christian Grey respects her enough to include her in on a negotiation with the contract. He could have no negotiations at all.
He used to be a complete douchebag, but he's trying to be nice. And with the abuse thing, it's also just like he where was I going with that? People kind of think that the abuse thing also goes along with how it's not a romance, and it's just like, it's not supposed to be a romance, even though people are like, it's a romance novel and movie, whatever. It's like, he says from the get-go, it's not about the romance. He doesn't do the romance.
He's very candid about the fact that he's not looking for a relationship.
It's just sex, and
so it can't be seen as emotionally abusive. Also, the fact that he won't sleep in bed with her, go on dates with her and stuff. He offers to, eventually, to persuade her. But I mean, some people could consider it, oh, he slept with her, slept with her, had sex with her. So why would he just stay the night with her? The thing is, he's not looking for something romantic like that, and he's very honest about it. And there's nothing abusive about that, because plenty of people that aren't interested in being romantic.
Yeah, there's actually even, I just thought of this right now, there is a really good comparison that you can do with that movie with Julia Roberts where she plays a prostitute. She refuses to kiss Richard Gere because that's just a line that she won't step up to, because that is crossing romance. Yeah, she's a prostitute, but she's just doing this stuff for sex, but she's still not going to kiss him. Just like Christian Grey is not going to sleep in the same bed with Anna, because that's just a part of the relationship he's not willing to cross into.
The reason he's not romantic is because of his past, because his mom was a crack addict, he was adopted, blah, blah, blah. I mean, he was hurt a lot at a very young age, which it's not surprising he became a sadist. It's really not surprising, and the fact that you get to see that side of him and understand, and in no way I feel like that it says that this is okay, like, oh, you had a rough past, so that means that you can purposely hurt people, and that's not what it's saying, because you see Anna crying, and an emotionally healthy audience member is going to say, like, she's crying, like, this is obviously not okay what he's doing to her. Yeah, I mean, you see his past, and you see that he's a normal person. So to me, that just kind of lets people know that this is not something that's to be romanticized, I guess. You see that he's not well in that.
No, yeah, and then on top of that, in his past, he also, with his crap going on at 15. He was, I don't know if I'm assuming he wasn't forced, but he was kind of forced by an adult.
I believe he was forced. I believe he said forced.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. For like 6 years, so 15 to 21, he was a sub to a female dominant. And then you get these people who are saying that this movie is pro-male dominance.
Yeah, that it perpetuates the evil mindset that men should dominate and control women. And even worse, he says that women want to be controlled.
And it's like, clearly that's not true, because for one, you have this example in his past, sucky past, but example in his past of a female making him be the fucking one getting abused, not abused, but the one getting spanked and punished and all this stuff. He has like all these marks on his chest, I'm assuming brand marks, from what she did to him, so she probably actually did abuse him.
And how can we say that women want to be controlled? I mean, this is one isolated incident, this is one relationship, one movie, a girl in a movie saying that she quite possibly will sign this contract and agree to it. And in no way says that women want to be controlled. Some people have certain kinks and things, and that's okay. And also, this is kind of going off on a tangent, but I've seen people comparing this and saying that, just because it's just a book.
Yeah.
Means, or just because it's a book, it shouldn't be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And that's what I believe, because, and then people are saying,
well, the Bible was just a book, the Quran was just a book, Mein Kampf was just a book.
I don't believe that you can compare 50 Shades of Grey to the
Bible. Or the Quran.
While during the Crusades, religion, specifically Christianity, caused a lot of death. And BDSM accidents obviously can happen, if they're doing it improperly, not researching and taking all their information from a fictional novel, but a fictional movie. I believe that the two aren't really comparable. No. I believe that abuse, I mean, if you're going to use the Bible for an example of that, like, then you should also be boycotting religion and like boycotting in front of churches and stuff, and I highly doubt that you're doing that. So
yeah, it's not like, yeah, it is, that's where it's just like, yeah, it is just a book. People take this seriously. If they want to take this stupid thing seriously, then they have other problems that have nothing to do with a simple book. It is a novel. It is a novel that is clearly very untrue, that came from a housewife. I'm assuming she says she works, so it comes from a wife's imagination that was based off of a Twilight fanfiction. Do not forget, this whole thing is a Twilight fanfiction in its basis. So, she was just writing it to write it. It was online. Someone saw it, wanted to publish it, and boom. That's all that it was. She clearly is not, she said she's not really into the actual BDSM culture. She did a little research. I don't think she did enough to understand, because BDSM culture is so much more than just the kinky shit. There is so much more. There is
mutual respect.
Exactly. There's that, and there's safety precautions, and then there's aftercare for the sub. There's so many different things that people just don't understand. And so it's like, if you want to take all this crap from a damn movie or book, you don't really have the capacity in your mind or something to be able to handle real world, because BDSM is a very, very interesting culture. If you are seriously interested in it, the movie definitely could have gotten you interested in it, but research. I don't think anyone who has some common sense even wouldn't think, oh, let's research this so I know I'm doing it right and how to do it right and all this stuff. You would need 10 minutes of research to understand how BDSM really works. It's not that complicated.
As far as I've looked into it, contracts are not involved, so I can see how that's kind of breaching what BDSM actually is about. And so I can understand people who are part of the BDSM culture even suing ELJs. Not suggesting people do that, but I can see it happening, saying, this is misrepresentation and it hurts me and it paints me in a bad light. I can totally see that happening if that's possible to do.
Absolutely possible, but I don't think it should be, because again, this is a woman who was just writing her fantasy down on book, and someone just happened to like it and think, let's publish it.
Yeah, based on the First Amendment, we have freedom of speech. and people can go do this. And unfortunately, if this movie came out or not, if these books were published or not, there would be BDSM accidents. I personally believe. Haven't researched into statistics about it.
It's just gonna be, they would happen regardless, but because this movie / book is out now they're just going to be shown. Before, BDSM abuse probably wasn't a big deal, but now because of these two things becoming big, now they're going to be shed into light.
Perhaps.
That's what I think is gonna happen. And it's just, no, people are taking this way too far. It's not a big deal.
Actually conducts herself very well. For one, she doesn't sign the contract. She wants to experience some of it, which she asks to experience the worst, which ends up in her crying and her asking him to stay away, and he listens to her.
Yeah,
but shows that he does respect her. And yeah, throughout the movie, she really stands her ground. And
in the book, even like with her standing her ground, in the book she uses a safety word, I know, and he doesn't go by it. But in the movie, he lets her know these safety words. She never says them.
She chooses not to use them.
And then, but when she's leaving him, she says no, and he stops, and that's fine. Like she's always aware of these safety words. Even when he is using the belt on her, the situation sucks because he's just being an asshole, basically. But something to remember is she didn't tell him to show her.
She did tell him to show her. That's because he was already planning on taking, I think, work-related stress out on her, which I believe is not a part of BDSM culture. It's strictly what goes on in the bedroom, and you're not supposed to bring any of that other stuff. You're not supposed to punish someone for something they did in everyday life, I believe.
No, yeah.
Well, not I believe, but that's my understanding.
No, yeah, it's not supposed to go that far. That's why I said he was being an asshole. However, she did ask. So to me, it's both their faults on some level. Maybe not necessarily her fault, but he cannot be completely held responsible for doing that to her because she told him to do it. She saw him getting the belt. He told her, remember what the safety word is red. He saw her getting the belt, or she saw him getting the belt. He told her to bend down. She did it all on her own. She was just, now she's finally aware of the kind of creature that this man is. So now she's fully aware. And again, she says stop. She says no. He stops. And she leaves. And that's how the movie ends. And I don't necessarily see anything wrong with that. I don't see how it's abuse.
I personally don't see it either. Someone who was in an emotionally abusive relationship, I personally don't see what he did as being over the top. I personally see it as creepy.
Yeah,
but not necessarily abusive.
Nope. So I think we'll probably end on that note.
Thanks for watching. That was our review.